What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Michael Chandler responds to criticism following loss to Poirier. In the People's Main Event, Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler competed in a thrilling back-and-forth fight. The arguable Fight of the Year contender saw both men find success as momentum ebbed and flowed. After Poirier secured a third-round finish, he and Chandler shared some words in the octagon. Given that cameras only picked up a small amount of the conversation, both men were asked about the verbal exchange following the fight. Chandler declined to comment, opting to keep things private between he and his opponent. On the other hand, Poirier didn't shy away from revealing that he called Iron Mike dirty. While Chandler also admitted that his fingers may have accidentally wound up in Poirier's mouth early on during a grappling exchange, he maintained any shots that landed behind the ear of Poirier were unintentional. This week, Chandler once again provided some clarification on the situation, explaining each situation individually during a recent podcast appearance.
I thought I had his chin, but it turns out I was in his mouth and I didn't really realize it until he bit down on my hand and I was like, oh shoot, okay. It's like people can watch it and they can watch stuff in slow-mo and they can say, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. Yeah. And you're like, when you're on the line or you're doing a tackle, you don't know where your hands, where your feet are, what you're grabbing, you're in the moment, you're in the motion, you're in literal hand-to-hand combat.
When it came to the strikes behind the ear, Chandler said that he immediately protested when the referee told him to stop landing on the back of the head. While he admitted one or two shots may have landed behind the head, he implored fans to watch the replay where they would see Poirier turning his head away from shots, causing the strikes that were legal to land behind the head. What do you think about the fight? Did you think Chandler committed several intentional fouls, or is this all just a big misunderstanding? Give us your thoughts in the comment section below. Darren Till fires back at Chael Sonnen. Darren Till is currently gearing up for his highly anticipated return to the octagon. With less than a month to go until the Gorilla is set to fight Dricus du Plessis, fight fans have noticed that Till sustained a pretty brutal eye injury during training. It was something Till recently spoke about, revealing that while wrestling, he felt his training partner's finger nearly go to the back of his head with how deep the eye poke was. After the cut began to bleed, Till poured Dettol, an antiseptic, into his eye to disinfect it. As many have pointed out online, it's not recommended that Dettol ever be put into an eye wound. The situation marked the latest in a series of injuries that have forced Till to pull out of fights in the past. The way Chael Sonnen sees it, after 5 canceled fights over the past 2 years, Till is due to pull out of his upcoming bout. The comments didn't sit well with Till, who fired back on a recent episode of Michael Bisping's Believe You Me podcast. It's mad because I put a post up. Chael Sonnen started saying, this is an indicator that Till's gonna pull out of the fight. Like, Chael, shut the up, mate, with your podcast, Till said. Lad, he's scared of me, Chael, because I threatened to pull his number up like I did Ariel's. Till is, of course, referring to the infamous incident where he leaked longtime reporter Ariel Helwani's phone number online in the midst of a spat. So far, it sounds as though training camp is going well for Till, aside from the eye injury. With his sights firmly set on making a run to the title, the Gorilla is eager to return to the octagon and get another win under his belt. Do you think he'll be able to defeat du Plessis on December 10th? Give us your thoughts in the comments below. Gilbert Burns eyeing several potential opponents for UFC Brazil pay-per-view. Since Gilbert Burns dropped a decision loss to Khamzat Chimaev in a Fight of the Year contender, there has been little news regarding his next fight. Initially, it looked as though Burns could potentially fight Jorge Masvidal in a highly anticipated showdown. At the time, however, Masvidal's immediate future was in question as he dealt with the fallout from his alleged assault on Colby Covington in Miami. As a result, Burns was left without an opponent. Since then, Kamaru Usman has lost the welterweight title, leaving the division open for a new contender to make a run at the belt. Needless to say, Burns is eager to earn his way back to title contention. With the UFC's upcoming pay-per-view in Brazil on the horizon, Burns, who is reportedly a lock for the card, wants an opponent. He spoke during a recent interview where he named several opponents for the UFC's upcoming pay-per-view in Brazil. After explaining that the UFC wants him to fight on the card, he went through the UFC's rankings to find an opponent.
And then I don't mind, give me anyone. There's not a lot of guys that are available. Bilal Muhammad is the one that doesn't have a fight. I'm interested. I will do it, but in the same way, he just got a big win in Abu Dhabi. It doesn't make sense to the guy to go all the way to Brazil to get a freaking hard fight. So I get it. Hamza is maybe fight Kobe. Bilal just fought. I'll fight him. I don't care. But he just fought.
He then continued calling out Sean Brady, Michael Chiesa, Neil Magny, Michael Pereira, and Daniel Rodriguez. By the sounds of it, Burns wants to fight, and the UFC wants him to fight. The only question now is who the promotion will book him to fight. By the sounds of things, a fight with Masvidal is seemingly out of the question. What do you think? Play matchmaker in the comments below and let us know who you want to see Burns fight next. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Aljamain Sterling weighs in on news of Petr Yan potentially leaving the UFC. Ever since Petr Yan lost a controversial decision to Sean O'Malley in Abu Dhabi, his future with the UFC has been put into question. Given that many, including UFC Hall of Famer Khabib Nurmagomedov, scored the fight for Yan, the former champion felt like he had been robbed. Considering he's been on the wrong end of some controversial losses inside the octagon, Yan seemed ready to leave the promotion. The way bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling sees things, Yan isn't being very rational. He spoke during a recent appearance on Brendan Schaub's Food Truck Diaries to weigh in on the situation, saying,
when he goes back and he watches it, if he tries to be outside of himself, which you have to be if you want to progress, you can see why you lost the fight.
Correct.
And I thought Yan won the fight when I watched it in the back room by a close margin. I went back and I watched it as a judge.
Yep.
I go,
That's what
by
I
the
did.
scoring criteria, I think O'Malley won the
Agree.
fight.
Sterling and Yan fought twice inside the octagon, with the first fight ending with Yan being disqualified as the result of an illegal knee. After losing the belt in that fight, Yan then lost a narrow decision to Sterling in the pair's rematch. In that fight, many felt as though the decision could have been awarded to Yan. Of course, as others have pointed out, Yan leaving the UFC wouldn't prevent him from dealing with the same judges in other promotions. Judges aren't supplied by promotions, but rather the commission of the state where the event is taking place. So far, no word yet as to whether or not Yan is still planning to leave the UFC after the controversial loss, or if cooler heads have prevailed and he's ready to make another run at the title.
And now for our breaking news story of the day.
Dude, the way he responded to that loss is better than anybody ever. The dude shows up at the press conference with a fur coat like a king, with a dope-ass watch on, and just says, he got me, you know? I mean, he basically said, the hunter is now the hunted. I'm coming after him. I'm going to find a way to beat that dude. I was on my way to beating him, and he got me. And he was honest about all of it, about how Pereira landed a bunch of calf kicks early on, and up his leg and couldn't move right.
Nerve.
Yeah. It's those calf kicks have changed the fucking game. Well, I don't think Pereira was going to stop. He had more time. Izzy was stationary, and Pereira was going to hit him some big shots. We don't need to see Izzy with his eyes rolled back behind his head, flat out unconscious. I think it was a good stoppage. And for Pereira, I mean, that was what a Cinderella story. I mean, that guy is a monster. He really is a monster. He's so big for the weight class. It was a wild fight. And for sure they're going to fight again. I mean, I hope so.
Right.
I don't know if they go straight to it, but the thing is, like, Pereira, like, his wrestling is going to be an issue. Like, he's got to really figure out a way to but that was an issue with Izzy, too. Early in Izzy's career, and he had to figure out how to tighten that up, and he did.
UFC executive grilled over Power Slap League by Nevada Commission Chair. UFC President Dana White and former UFC owner Lorenzo Fertitta recently announced that they would be hosting a Power Slap League tournament in January. The promotion was set to host a tournament between athletes as they took turns slapping one another in an effort to determine the Power Slap champion. With a roster of competitors, coaches, and referees, the Power Slap League was licensed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. During a meeting with UFC Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell, Nevada Commission Chairman Stephen Klobeck asked if there was any way to ensure nobody dies in competition. The response from Campbell was clear. Although the competitors were going to take damage, he and White have a full understanding of the health and safety side of things. That is priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That goes without saying. Honestly, one of the reasons we tested this was to really understand firsthand, in person, the health and safety aspect of the sport. We have a high level of comfort following that, working extensively with the commission to make sure that we believe that safely. So far, it sounds as though the competition has received mixed reactions from fight fans. While some are intrigued by the brutality of the competition, others don't really see the point. So far, social media engagement for the promotion has been rather minimal. When the Power Slap League hosts its inaugural event on TBS in January, will you be tuning in? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to see more videos just like this. See you next time.